Bart, I originally met you at Coconut and Coffee. I just always got to say it
Yeah.
because of the name is just awesome, and they had a beautiful coffee. But met you out there in the Netherlands a few months ago. Had an awesome conversation. Obviously, we look after a lot of what you guys do, and I told you this a few months ago. And from my personal life, I came into the cold and the breathing aggressively in 2015 when I kind of came across Wim Hof breathing and cold exposure, and obviously what you guys do. You guys are the pioneers that has now taken over. I would like to think it's been, you can talk deeply into it, but it seems like it's blasting through the United States right now. You guys have obviously been doing it for years. I came to it, like I told you, in 2015, and it meant a lot to meet you that day. And obviously, a lot of our members were there, and it was a fun day, and we had a fun time in Amsterdam. But now you're on the podcast with us. And before we dive into it, man, I got to say thank you very much, and thanks for staying in contact as well.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, yeah, and we had a good click, I think, in Amsterdam, and we didn't drink one coffee. I think maybe there were two or three because they were so nice.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It was a beautiful morning, one that I will not forget. And obviously, the bike scene in Amsterdam is still trying to comprehend how the travel of bike everywhere you go is what goes on over there. But you
yeah.
got to keep your head on a swivel where you're at, and so it's an amazing experience. But for some people who can understand what we're going to dive into, can you sort of create the day that we spoke that day, and then sort of create the story of your own path to what you're doing right now? And kind of where you guys are headed in the moment. And then we can tie into the depths really of how it all started with cold exposure, you and Wim connecting, and what you do specifically, and kind of go from there. But can you kind of tie in how your life looks and what you do around the world?
Um, right now, I'm a brand new dad, so I have a
Mm,
5 year, a five
that
five
is right.
month. Uh, yeah, my baby's 5 months. She's beautiful, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Congratulations, man.
it's life changing, life
Yeah.
changing.
Yeah.
And I'm a full-time Wim Hof instructor, and also teach at the Wim Hof Academy.
Okay.
And I'm also I still work project based for the Office,
Okay.
how we call it, Inner Fire.
Nice.
And that's where it actually all started. What is it? In 2012, yeah, 2011, I took my first ice bath in Amsterdam here, and a workshop.
Yeah.
And then I met Wim for the first time, and I knew him from all his crazy records, and
Yeah.
uh, had no idea there was a method at all. And yeah, when I took my first ice bath and I did the breathing exercises, I was blown away,
Sure.
literally.
Yeah.
And yeah, from there it all started. Actually, my relation, 10 year. I had a relationship for 10 years, and yeah, we decided to split up. At
Hmm.
that time, it was a very bad
Sure.
situation for me because I just also quit my job
Yeah.
um, to become an entrepreneur. 1 month later, my relationship was also over,
Wow.
and was just yeah,
So
what
just
what
is
what
that what
next?
led you to the ice, you think? Or was it more of you saw Wim,
Now,
knew about it? Yeah, go ahead.
no, it was actually the year before. So in 2011, I met Wim, and in
Okay.
2012, we broke up.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, but in 2011, I was started practicing the Wim Hof method, cold showers, etc. And it was everyone
Yeah.
telling everyone like, "Oh, you should do this, you should do this," and everyone like, "Bart, leave me alone."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, he was quite famous in the Netherlands, but not about his methods, you know. So everyone was like, "Yeah, well, why should I take a cold shower? Why should I take a cold shower anyway,
Right.
or breathe?" So also for me in the beginning, I was full on and very disciplined. But you know how it goes with creating new habits.
Right.
Daily life kicks in, and then other stuff come on your path.
Absolutely.
Same,
When you
same
were,
for me.
yeah. Well, that's
Uh,
is that what led you the entrepreneurship? Was that sort of you dive right into it? Did you choose that path of the Wim Hof path, or did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
No, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I was not quite sure what to do. And I was in email marketing, and I wanted to do something with funnels and
Okay.
with video marketing. I had a crazy idea how to do something to build a kind of scalable online video trainings or
Mm,
something. I think that was the idea of my business. Like I want to do something like that because I was very interested in automations and
sure.
scalable, making scalable products. But I didn't really got it yet. I didn't have the whole picture. And then Wim came on my path and his son, and also with another friend, we came up to make an online video course of the method
Okay.
because Wim was just hopping through Netherlands
Yeah.
doing small workshops,
Yeah.
and yeah, he said, "Yeah, my mission is to to make the whole world strong, happy, healthy." And yeah, we said, "Hey, Wim, it is possible, but you cannot do it alone.
Right.
And so let's create something what makes it we can reach more people." And then we decided to go to Poland in 2012,
Okay.
actually 2013. But after my breakup, I contacted his son with this friend of mine, and yeah, we initiated to make the video course, and so we did. So we went to Poland,
Why
and
Poland? What was the,
yeah, because Wim already had bought that house over
okay.
there,
Okay.
and yeah, the perfect setting to record something with nature,
Yeah, yeah.
with cold exposure.
Well, that's what we were
So
saying before we pressed play. That was sort of where you guys just had a huge workshop there, right? Just now, right? With Lewis Howes and that crew that was in Poland.
yeah, so it all started over there, and
Okay.
I was there from the beginning, and it was also my first experience. Yeah, to go in the cold in nature, and we recorded a 10-week course like we have it right now
Yeah.
online
Yep. Yep.
in just 5 days. So you can imagine we did 10 weeks in 5 days. So
Wow.
we were the participants as well. I was the director, but also a participant. So
Jeez.
two or three times a day going into in the cold water, do breathing exercises, and also drink a lot of beer in the
Yeah.
evening.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was quite intense. And so in some videos you see it. Sometimes you see Wim's face like he starts like this. Yeah, all right, week 3. There we go. And
I love it.
yeah, so from there it started. And in the beginning, yeah, it was just creating the course, and
Right.
we didn't know if people wanted to buy it anyway. But
But you did it.
we believed in it, and we kept on going, just working on it. And
Well, I remember you had
uh,
said that to me, because I asked you that a few months ago. Like I just said, how did
yeah,
how did people get into this? And you very simply just said we believed in it. And I thought that was so profound. I've thought about that since, really, because it is something like it. I mean, in reality, it's just expose yourself to cold and breathing. And you could think and this is what I guess my question is, you could think to yourself, okay, well, that sounds really simple. Why would I need to buy a course of that? Or why would I have to go to a workshop? But
mhm.
there's so much more than what you guys do. And obviously, you have changed the trajectory of how people think and live. And I would say that your mission is in full force. I mean, it funneled over to me, right? And over here, but more so of
Yeah.
what was the initial online course where did you realize anything of how do people, because obviously if I'm with you in person it's different than online, so
Yeah.
and you guys are so infectious with your energy and the way that you're, like I said, the first time I met you it was just like, this guy's awesome, right? But that's different than an online deal, but it obviously has worked. Why do you think that is? Just purely people believe in you guys so much, or how did you notice that right away of the online side of it? Because it is such an internal discovery, I feel like. I don't know. Does
Yeah,
that
it
set
is,
that
and
up a little bit?
and of course, it's completely different than when you do something online because there's
Right.
also an app
Right.
where or on YouTube you can do some breathing exercises and um, doing stuff live is completely different.
Right.
Do it with other people around you and have someone who guides you and with music
Yeah.
and really conducts the orchestra more or less. That's completely different ball game.
Mm-hmm.
So um, yeah, I was actually surprised because it was never done before. We didn't do any research like, okay, do people want to buy it
Yeah.
anyway?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but from my experience, what I felt after this workshop, because I went to Anthony Robbins and all kinds of personal
Oh, sure.
development stuff
Yeah.
before, and I couldn't really find it. And yes, it motivated me big time, but this sticked. It was so powerful that you go really deep inside yourself.
Right.
Yeah, and you feel strong again. Like, at that time, I lost my what is it, my masculinity also a little bit because of the breakup.
Yeah.
I was just crying all the time and
Right.
lost a lot of weight
Right.
and just no testosterone at all.
Yeah.
And when,
Right.
when I went to Poland, I came back as a man. Like this, at least that I felt it like this. And then Wim continued doing his workshops in the Netherlands. I joined a few of them, and also they organized their first winter travels in Poland. And back then, my first winter travel with Wim was with 8 people. And this year we had 100 people.
Wild. Absolutely wild.
And, and you mentioned that you discovered it in 2015, and that was for me and for the whole organization a big breakthrough that year because we came in the Joe Rogan show,
Okay.
Tim
Yeah.
Ferriss show, the Vice documentary was released, and suddenly, in the beginning, only Dutch people came to our workshops and
Mhm.
retreats.
Yeah.
Maybe one guy from Sweden or so, but
Yeah.
this time we were Americans and Canadians, and wow, it's like, wow, we're going international. And now the average age was not 40 or something like that, but also youngsters came
Right.
and fit guys
Then it kind of blew up.
yeah, it was a whole mixture of cultures yeah, it was all completely mixed and but still same energy. And I just told you before we started. You asked me how it was this year in Poland
Yeah.
with 100 people. Yeah, it's bigger, and sometimes it feels a little bit like okay, it's too much, getting too much.
Right. I was gonna. Yep.
But the outcome is still the same. The connection what people make and the love and how people bond in just one week. It's like a family for life, and I think that's just this is why we're doing this.
Right.
Just yeah.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you. Is were you prepared? I don't know how you could be prepared, but were you prepared for that blow up? Did it kind of just happen like that? And then what was that like for the family? What was that like for you guys as a
Mm,
team? Because that had to have
well,
just been insane.
there were already a few earlier moments when we expected it.
Okay.
Uh, that was in 2000 and what is it? Yeah, sometimes I mix up with the years, but
Yeah.
doesn't matter. But it was with the release of the Radboud University study.
Okay.
It was published in PNAS and Nature. With endoxin. How do you say that?
Yeah. No, you're right. That was when
Uh,
they injected Wim in that group
yes,
with the. Yep.
yes,
Yeah. Go into
yes.
that.
So
Dive into that.
it was published. So we thought, okay, now it's the whole world is like coming
Right.
to us, but
Right.
didn't happen at all. the European Song Festival was more important at that time in the news. And before that, we climbed Kilimanjaro as well with 26 people in shorts.
Right.
Uh, in record time. So we also expected that was doing something. Not at all. So there were a few moments when we thought, okay, now it's going to happen. Now it's going to happen, and it didn't really happen. But at a certain point, we were going to Spain, to the Spain travels, and we just released the Vice documentary.
Okay.
And in the beginning, no one bought the 10-week course. You know, we were celebrating each sale.
Yeah.
I can remember the first year, I think we
Like,
sold
yeah.
30 courses or something, and I celebrated each one of them. And I
Yeah.
sent Wim every time a text message like,
We
"Oh,
got
we
another
are at
one.
9.
Yeah.
Oh, a guy from Belgium bought it. All right, a guy from Denmark bought it. Like, whoa, we go international."
Yeah.
But when the Vice documentary was released, it was like boom. It's like I checked my phone, it was just refreshing, and I was like, this, whoa.
Yeah. Wild.
So, and we didn't do really any marketing, you know, it was mouth to mouth. And but yeah, this documentary really helped. And a second boom came when we went to Joe Rogan. I was also there actually,
Mm-hmm.
and in the studio. I didn't really know Joe Rogan at all, because
yeah.
I didn't. I was not very into podcast. You know, of course I knew him,
Yeah.
but I didn't know he was so big. So I was just came there in the room, and I said, "Oh, can I sit here on the table?" He
Yeah.
said, "No, this is for the guest, and then it's filmed." So like, okay. He didn't say it was it was filmed. So I thought, why can I not sit on the table? You know. So I went to, yeah, you can sit over there. But later I saw it back on YouTube, and I saw myself sitting over there like, oh shit, I hope I didn't do this, you know? So put my finger in my nose or something.
Oh man,
But
that is, yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah, Joe
then
Rogan.
a lot of adventures started, and it's, yeah, it was
Wow.
unreal.
Wow.
Actually, it was unreal.
I
It was
cannot.
unreal.
I. There has to be something said about the no marketing, just the pure. That's got to be the outcome that you guys feel every time. Is it came from such a pure place, right? Like just such a. You guys were gonna just do this, which is so
Yeah.
wild because you. I believe in that tremendously. I believe in that universe aligning and helping people and getting people out that kind of come from that place. But what a wild concept to just kind of believe in that system and go for it. What was the opportunity that got you guys the Vice documentary? How did that come about? How did they sort of find you?
I don't really know. No, it was maybe because we also did a few podcasts. We started with what is it, Ben Greenfield,
Oh yeah, yep, yep,
and we didn't. Yeah, we did some others, and also Tim Ferriss contacted us.
yep.
Or no, we contacted Tim Ferriss actually, but it was via and Laird Hamilton and Brian McKenzie. They were also doing the course.
Yeah.
And I discovered actually that Rick Rubin was doing the Wim Hof Method online course, because he was in the Tim Ferriss show and he mentioned it.
Oh, okay.
So then and then I contacted him,
Mm-hmm.
and then he didn't respond. But they were all friends, Laird Hamilton, Rick
Yeah, yeah.
Rubin, and
Small circle, right?
McKenzie. So
Yeah.
so they heard about it, and they helped me to get into the show with Wim.
Okay.
And um, yeah, so yeah, you know how it goes when you go
Yep.
into a certain world, then
Once
people
you're
pick
in
it
it.
up.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Once you're in
they
it.
contact the Vice documentary contacted Wim's son, Enam, and they went to Poland, and the rest is history.
Well, and yeah, I love it because you are right. Right. Once you're in a circle, you sort of people connect you with other people, right? That's just sort of how. I mean, it's like Darren.
Yeah.
like I got Darren Oline, he kind of aligned us, and you just kind of get connected and networked in those sort of worlds. And we've obviously spent time with Laird Hamilton out in
Yeah.
Malibu. Unbelievable people. Brian McKenzie was a big influence in my breathing world, and it's you just kind of follow the dots, if you will. But from everything that you guys are learning, and that puts you in a good position to learn more, right? And so, how are some of the ways that you guys have kind of taken your foundation, if you will, or how you started with the breathing and the ice, and then have you enhanced that more through things that you've learned, or have you sort of stayed your own personal course and just tried to master your own personal coaching? Does that make sense?
Not really.
Have you taken like other breathing like coaches or other people who are doing ice? Have you taken any of that and added it, or do you just kind of stay with what
Um,
you guys have practiced?
yeah, probably I stayed pretty much to the core. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, also because I was so involved,
Yeah.
so it doesn't feel right. But right in a sense, of course, there are a lot of breathing techniques,
Right.
and there's a lot of knowledge about breathing, and breathing is very old, also cold exposure, very old.
Yeah.
But I really didn't really dive into other techniques. No, sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
read about it, but not really practicing. Of
It,
course,
yeah.
sometimes you try something like box breathing, or and it's just the small things, the apps and stuff. But
Right.
I
Right.
didn't bought any courses or went to yeah to other breathing experts.
No, I think
No.
that that's cool because I know I want you to dive into Mount Kilimanjaro because you guys basically, like, I guess what made you guys think that you should do that, right? And obviously now many people do certain practices, right? And they obviously that mountain's a popular one, but like that's kind of a lot of what you guys would do or how you train or coach has to be an intuitive way of thinking, way of
Yeah.
breathing, and way of living. What is it that gives you guys that spark or that creativity?
Yeah, I think that creativity and that spark and everything around it comes also all from Wim.
Okay.
He has a huge energy field around him,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, when we climbed the Śnieżka in Poland
Mm-hmm.
in shorts,
Yeah, it's
when
wild.
when we were recording the 10-week course, it was minus 20 or something. It was sunshine, but it was pretty cold, and we
Yeah.
did it. But at the top, he said, "This year we do Mount Snizka. Yes, next year we do Kilimanjaro, and the year after we do Mount Everest. Let's grab a beer." And I was standing there like, "This guy is completely crazy. I'm not going to do Kilimanjaro." But at a certain point, we went to his house, random. I just went random to his little garden house,
Okay.
30 square meters back then,
Yeah.
just visiting him. And there was a big group of people gathering.
Yeah.
I was a little bit annoyed that I was not invited, but they were had a discussion. It was the first instructors group of Wim.
Okay.
Back then, we didn't have a real academy, but yeah, it just started to get some instructors,
Okay.
and they were invited to do the Kilimanjaro with Wim.
Wow.
So I just joined and I heard about the story, what Wim was telling. Like, okay, I did Kilimanjaro one time, and I believe that everyone is capable of doing it, and let's go all together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there were people there with all kinds of diseases as well. Crohn disease,
Right.
cancer, MS, arthritis, all kinds of stuff. And there was a guy of 65. He joined later, but he was overweighted and had also some heart operations before bypasses.
Mm-hmm.
But Wim was so convinced that we were capable of doing this, and
Yeah.
not in 5 days, what normally is people do in 5 to 7 days to climb the Kilimanjaro. He said, we're going to do it in 3 days and in shorts.
Yeah, that's mind blowing.
Um, yeah, he was so convinced that we could do it. So everyone was like, yes, yeah, we'll do it all together. And, but you know how it goes. You know,
I mean, it's terrifying.
uh,
Sounds
yeah,
terrifying.
at the end it was terrifying, you know, and half year before it was just like, oh yeah, we're going to do it. And yeah, then 1 month left, like, oh, maybe we should do it in 4 days. So there started a whole discussion also in the group, like maybe we could do it in 4 days.
Yeah.
And then the energy changed a little bit also with Wim, because he was like, what? No, 3 days.
Yeah.
We trained for this. And yeah, then it becomes a kind of a mind game also, because people had families at home, and
Right.
yeah, they wanted to try to protect them, you know,
Right.
grab them, like, oh,
Right.
don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a difficult time. And then we voted, and it was, I think, 50-50 as well. 50% of the group said we're going to do it in 3 days, and
The other said 40
the other
or
50
4.
said we're going to 4 days.
Yeah.
Like, shit. And I was also disappointed, and I
Right.
could see it in Wim's face, like, why should we do it in 4? Because normally you do it in 5 days. It's not, you know.
Right. Right.
Uh, yeah, but eventually we said, okay, we're going to do it in 3 days. But if we have some struggles, then we do it in 4 days, and it's also good because we do it in shorts.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And you guys did it in 3 days.
With crazy not stupid. No, we did it in 48 hours eventually. So did it even faster.
That is so
Yeah.
incredible. Well, I know
That is the power of the mind. Eh? The power of the mind.
Well, I go into
Yeah.
that too, man, because you've even said that I know Wim has done with the University of Michigan, which I'm from Michigan. Didn't he do a brain scan of visualization with the mind? I think you were telling me something along those lines of like how you can change your
No,
energy.
he did. The research was they did a few things. They asked Wim to put on a kind of a wetsuit,
Yeah.
and in that wetsuit they can pump warm water and cold water.
Okay.
And so the skin temperature goes up and down.
Okay.
With normal people, it went like this. First time when Wim did that, same thing happened.
Okay.
So also skin temperature went up and down.
So it did what it was supposed
then-
to do the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cold water, warm water, cold water, warm
Yeah.
water.
Sure.
And but then they asked Wim, okay, Wim, now do your thing.
Yeah.
The Wim Hof Method.
Yeah.
But they put him in a brain scan, so it was not possible for him to breathe. So he did the
Oh.
breathing exercises before, but he
Yeah.
couldn't breathe in
When
the
he was
brain
in it.
scan because the images they blur.
Right.
So then he went back to all his
Experiences.
previous challenges, and
Yeah.
you know, he has a kind of a trigger that he can change his whole state and physical,
Being.
you know,
Yeah. Wow.
mental. Yeah, he trained so much. It's like the Pavlov effect, you know. You just switch a button and it's just.
It's incredible.
And then in that brain scan, they saw something fantastic. The part of his brain stem lightened up, the periaqueductal gray hemisphere, which is activating and releasing opioids and cannabinoids.
Wow.
What means we can do something maybe about mental disorders, anxiety, you name it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a painkiller just by will triggering it. Yeah, and that was something they never saw before, by will. They thought they were, he was activating the insula,
Yeah.
but it's actually the deeper part of the brain. And they saw that it lightened up like a Christmas tree, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But what
Same.
they also saw, they put him also in another scan, in a PET scan,
Okay.
PAT scan, so they can measure the um, the glucose.
Oh,
How
sure.
do
Like
you
the
say?
energy part of the body or cells or whatever.
Yeah, I can. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and what they saw was that the intercostal muscles,
Yeah.
they were activated as well and created burning glucose as hell, and it just warmed up, and that's where all the heat came from,
Yeah.
which is
Wow.
actually also created when you breathe.
Yeah.
And but we always were really focused on brown fat activation,
Yeah.
but this is something new. So it's quite interesting. You cannot say it's only brown fat. If you don't measure the other parts, it's whole holistic. It's,
That is an interesting.
when
Yeah.
yeah, when you do research, you focus on one thing, but it's all connected, of course. And now they saw also that the intercostal muscles are also a big part of creating that heat, which is also fantastic.
Oh,
Just to do more
tremendously.
research about, like,
You're right on too. That's the hard part about research is it really does only, and people only seek out to do one thing when they do research, like to try to sort of prove this point or whatever. So you kind of miss all the other parts. But I think that the powerful part of that is even activating the mind. So it was more of I couldn't do this breathing exercise, but I have so much experience in visualization and memories that I can get back to that, and I can get back to that
yeah,
imagery in my brain, which is so fascinating. I guess what my thought of that is, I wonder, because I fully believe that you can improve mental disorders and you can improve your health. Everything that you guys are doing,
oh yeah,
obviously, you've proven that.
sorry to interrupt, but I forgot to mention, what is important
Yeah,
is skin temperature remained the same
that was that
because of that
was that
because
just
of that
thinking?
activation. Sorry,
Was
yeah,
that was just thinking?
yeah.
Wow.
So it remained flat. It didn't went up and down anymore. So I was just going into the whole brain story, but
Yeah,
eventually also that happened. That was because of that burning
yeah.
of the intercostal muscles. So that's, yeah.
And that's something. Do you guys? Well, that's what I was gonna say. Do you have to train that? Is how long does that take, or brown fat to get activated? Like, how much would you suggest you expose yourself to the cold or practice breathing to sort of start
Yeah,
seeing those
I
returns?
I cannot really say
Right,
anything about that, because I think everybody is different,
right, right,
and conditioned differently.
right.
But what I believe, once you go into gradual cold exposure and you do it regularly,
Yeah,
it's kind of a Pavlov effect.
right.
When I go into the cold shower, it's still, I hate it.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
still
yeah.
like,
Me too. Yeah.
why? All the question marks on my head. Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
But then I go back. Then I go back to previous things, like, for example, I was in shorts on
Right.
Kilimanjaro. Then I think, yeah, why not? What can happen?
Well,
And
yeah.
but there's also then a trigger when I go back. Then my body is already heating up in a sense,
Yeah. Well, it has
you
a
know,
memory
by,
too, right?
by memory.
Yeah.
And it can also be that you just see the cold shower and
Right.
your body already responds to that.
Yeah.
And what they saw with Wim in an earlier study is also before he went into an 80-minute ice bath, uh, his metabolic activity was already at 300% before he went in. So his
That is
stove was already heating up,
yeah.
you know,
That is
just by
incredible.
just by seeing that ice bath.
because it's starting to get them.
Oh,
Well, that's what I was going to ask you too, because we'll see a lot of people before they go on the ice for the first time. You'll see them start wasting a lot of energy because they're already thinking about something that could be scary, right? And then they get into the
mhm.
ice and it's way worse. You know, we always try to get into the ice and just kind of flatline your mentality, suppress that urge to go wild and just sit in it, right? And I know you guys talk a lot about that, right? Feeling is understanding. But how do you sort of coach people through that concept where you get a newcomer or whatnot, or someone who's rather new to the ice exposure, and they get really nervous going into it, and maybe they don't have past memories? You know, what are some of your ways of getting somebody to sort of understand it more on their own?
Yeah, it always starts with kind of a safe environment.
Right.
I think it's always very important that people
Right.
feel safe
Safe.
with
Right.
you
Right.
and the things you do. They come already with a kind of an intention, so that makes it
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah.
It's not like they're brand new.
Yeah.
They do something they don't want to do.
Right.
Um, Still, it's scary. And in my opinion, it already starts with explaining the breathing and how important the breathing is to give direction on your state.
Sure.
And once you know that system, you know how that works a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
you know how to relax, how
Mm-hmm.
to go into that parasympathetic nervous system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Once they know that system and they can trust on it, and you tell them how to apply it once they make that first step into the ice,
Ah.
then there's already
Yeah.
something going on. They know they cannot die. There's some other things you can tell them
Yeah.
how to do it, how to approach it. And again, safety, give them the feeling that you are always there and they can always go out and
Right.
there's no force. I don't put them in like this.
Right.
It's
Right. Well,
and but it makes it different when you do, for example, corporate workshops,
right.
because then people come because their boss wanted to do.
Oh,
It's
yeah. What's that like in terms of, because I got to imagine at the end they're happy, but what's that experience like in the beginning with like a corporate environment? Like
Well,
they're
yeah,
just
you,
pissed that their
you, you
boss
keep
made
it
them
you
do
keep
that.
it a little bit you keep it a little bit more open because
Yeah.
it's also yeah, different situation when you see your colleagues half naked.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
also for
True.
some people very very scary.
True.
Uh,
True.
but but again, uh, it's just the energy you bring into it, and to give them that confidence that they can do it,
Right.
and then 99% goes in.
Well,
It's
yeah, and it's an amazing experience, right? As you've seen. So for people who are listening a little bit, can you, and they might be wondering, I think we teed up some good time to talk about a little bit of that breath. But for people who are
Yeah.
listening to this and maybe only have access to a cold shower or whatever, when they hear you talk about parasympathetic or their physiology or what's going on in the body and using that breath to kind of understand their state, can you kind of talk in simple terms for someone who will hear this and more of a, what does it look like when you're starting out a Wim Hof type of breathing or your style of breathing? What does it look like? What should I be experiencing, or what should I be kind of thinking about during it? And maybe some signs or triggers of knowing that I'm doing well, maybe taper down, taper up. I'm sure you've gotten questions like that times a million. So can you just give like
Ah.
a simple foundation of kind of how to build an awareness to your breathing through the style you guys use?
Um, Building awareness. Well, there's something what you can do at home
Mm-hmm.
is just to check your state.
Mm-hmm.
To count the amounts of breaths you do in a minute.
Mm.
That can be a very good exercise
Yeah.
just to check. Um, Once you do for 1 minute, just normal breathing, like in rest, just sitting and
Yeah.
just count your breaths
Okay.
in and out is one. And then if you're around 12 to 16 or maybe 18 or 20 even,
Yeah.
then probably you're already in a kind of a stressful situation. You breathe too much,
much.
for the rest.
Right.
The heartbeat goes up. You go in a kind of a fight-flight system.
Okay.
And the fight-flight system we use actually only in situations we need it. In the past, when a tiger came out of the bushes, we had to run, or a dinosaur,
Yeah.
like we have adrenaline, go, 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 go. And now we constantly are in that adrenaline mode,
Right.
by just randomly sitting behind your computer, and you think I'm in rest,
Right.
but
You're not.
your body thinks something else.
Right.
So that's also the reason why people burn out, because the energy management sucks. They
Right.
constantly are on, and never go into that rest.
Right.
So you can do that exercise just to check. And then in the second minute, you're trying to bring it down to 6 or 8 breaths.
So really
And
breathing slow. Yeah.
yeah, you breathe out longer, and
Yeah.
yeah, you get already a little bit more relaxed. And that breathing out, that's going into the rest and digest in the relax mode, and more in, yeah, it already shows that you go more in the action mode.
Yeah.
And you want to have a nice balance between that. You cannot go the whole day in that parasympathetic nervous system, because then, hey, nothing happens,
Right.
Nothing happens. But yeah, it's good to have kind of a balance in that. So that second round, you do, a little bit more.
Ooh.
And you feel already better. And that's not even the Wim Hof method.
Right.
That's just checking how you can play with your state.
In that.
Now, and in the Wim Hof
Yeah.
method,
Go ahead.
yeah,
No, keep going. That's
yeah,
just my brain is locked in on that. Go ahead.
yeah. In the Wim Hof method, we play with a lot of systems. We go first. We go to breathe. We over breathe,
Okay.
and fully in and let go. Fully in and let go. And we do that around 40 times. Heartbeat goes up.
Yeah.
Adrenaline comes rushing in. And then at around 40 or 50, depends if you feel a little bit lightheaded and charged, like we call that. And then you go in deep and you breathe out. And then you hold the breath and exhalation. And that's what we call the retention time.
Okay.
Now, in that retention time, we really go in that parasympathetic nervous system. So first we build it up. We go into that sympathetic action, adrenaline rush, even more than someone bungee jumps for the first time.
Right.
Wim always mentions. And then we go into the parasympathetic nervous system, and we go really in the retention time. It can take from 1 minute to 2 or 3 minutes even.
When you come out of that retention time, do you go right back into, if you're doing rounds, do you go right back into that, or do you ease out of the parasympathetic feeling?
Yeah, once you feel the urge to breathe, you take one deep breath in.
Okay.
That's what we call the recovery breath.
Okay.
And you hold it for 10, 15 seconds. And then you continue again that breathing cycle.
Okay.
And you do it 4 times. And what is interesting, and what they also saw in the studies, is that you train a lot. You train the heartbeat. So from high heartbeat to low heartbeat.
Sure.
You train actually also a kind of you go in a zone when you have a lack of oxygen, but you train also to be more efficient with that oxygen. So the CO2 goes up and down, the oxygen goes up and down, the pH level goes up and down. So you train a lot of systems. You train the hormonal system.
Right.
You train the immune system, but it's short. So a lot of people say, yeah, but I thought adrenaline is not good for you. Yeah, not the whole day.
Yeah.
Not
Right.
constantly.
Right.
But for this is just giving it a peak and then a down, a
Mm,
peak and then a down.
mm.
So you after that breathing exercise,
Yeah.
all systems go more. They balance
They
out more.
neutralize.
They get
Yeah.
more. They neutralize, and what they see is also that the pH level is slightly higher than before in the blood.
And that's that kicker when that pH goes up just slightly. That's how that turns off like a pain receptor, doesn't it? Isn't that why you can go into the cold?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It also helps to reduce pain, but it's just slightly, eh? And
Yeah.
I think the body is pretty able to regulate your pH level the whole day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not saying that like, oh, your pH level is better or something,
Yeah.
but it's slightly more balanced out. Then you're less acidic for a period
For a
of
period of
time.
time, sure. And
And
that's what I was going to ask that because when you're hiking, if you do the mountain and you're out in that cold for that extended period of time, you're not doing, are you just breathing normal? Is it just more of a mind over matter deal where you just pound through it? Or are you
well,
focusing on your breathing?
yeah, when we hiked, for example, Kilimanjaro, we're breathing more than we think was needed.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Normally, you don't breathe. Um, yeah, you just go.
Right.
You don't focus too much on the breathing,
Right.
and during the hikes, you just constantly.
Sure.
Also to because on altitude you have, for example, 5,000 meters. I don't know
Right.
exactly what it is in feet. What
Right.
is it? 15,000 or something?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have
Um,
to Google that.
you have. I don't know exactly the numbers, but
Right.
normally when you breathe in, you have 20% of oxygen. On altitude, you have maybe 11.
Yeah.
So that's the half.
That's that whole like hypoxic breathing here and stuff right
Yeah,
now. You do to improve the red blood cells and those sort of things, right? And you're just basically
yeah. We
doing
can
that.
we,
You're doing
we
that no
go
matter
we
what.
can go really deep into science stuff, but yeah, it makes sense that you have to breathe a little bit more
Right.
than normal, or even shallow. If you breathe shallow on altitude, yeah, man, you're not gonna survive.
That is
Sorry.
so cool. How is it so and then you can kind of take that type of breathing, go into the cold, feel the cold now, right? Kind of over time, you're right? You still get I mean, I'm the same way. I never want to take a cold shower, and I do every morning. I take a cold shower morning, night, and then I try to do 3 cold exposures, like a tub or lake type exposure a week. But then
Yeah,
I never want to do it. But you do realize, like, you do realize over time, like, your body does adapt to it. I don't know why the mind never just, because afterwards you always feel amazing, you know?
you feel amazing.
You do.
You feel amazing, and you trigger that 125,000 kilometers of veins,
Yeah,
or
that's wild.
80,000 miles of veins what you have in your body and it's just like just going to the gym.
Yeah,
You make it stronger.
right.
um, so what a lot of people don't realize, when you make your cardiovascular system stronger,
Hmm.
then also your heartbeat goes down, because the heart needs to do a lot less work to do.
Right,
It's
right.
because the beating becomes less, and that also the mind gets more
Yeah, it goes
more
up.
tranquil.
Yeah. Well, how,
So
yeah.
it's quite simple, and it's not like, oh, Wim Hof and woo. Wim just knows that this basic stuff just helps you, and now we're so fucked up
Yeah.
with the things we do and the
Oh, yeah.
telephones and blah blah blah, and we don't go to that system. Did you see the series Vikings?
I know what you're talking about. I did not see that.
It's
Is that a
amazing.
Netflix
It's
show?
amazing.
Yeah.
Netflix and HBO and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
History, I think.
Cool.
but it's amazing. And then you see it. That was in the year, I think, 1000, and they went on open ships from Norway
Right.
to England, to Iceland, and even to Canada, and open ships, you
Wow.
know. And
Yeah.
sometimes we think, how did they do that? But they
Right.
were way more in contact with nature
For
and
sure.
trusted their body way more.
Well,
And we're not trained anymore, you know.
no, I do.
Simple.
I do. And you said that earlier about Poland, about being in nature with the cold, and the nature part plays such a huge role in it too, right? And it's funny you say the
Yeah.
Viking, because I'm gonna draw a blank on the name. I think it was called the Revenant with I can't think
Yeah.
of it. Yeah. So, but
There. Yeah.
in older movies, you see like people showering in streams or rinsing off in streams in the middle of the winter. I shouldn't even say older movies, but older, styles of movies or whatnot, whatever they're portraying.
Yeah. The dive in a lake, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you see that,
Yeah.
and that always made sense to me too, because I always try to wonder like what brought me to the Wim Hof style and the cold, and really what got me back in the day was I was transitioning out of sports, and I had met a guy who I think YouTubed what you guys were doing and told me about it, and he said, "Hey man, do this 16-week breathing system," and I think he had bought a course, and we did the course, and we did for 16 weeks every morning. We just did a breathing practice, and we went in the cold. And the first time I did a freezing cold shower, it was scary almost. And I worked up. I just did 20 seconds. Then I added 10 seconds all the way until I was at a 5-minute cold shower. And then what really
Yeah.
turned around what we do now for a living and what we're trying to enhance and build too is then I went and sat in our lake in the middle of winter here in the middle of December after 16 weeks of training, and I felt awesome. And I've never
Yeah.
looked back. I've literally never looked back. Here we are in 2020, and I'm getting to share this conversation with you, and it's amazing. But it's
Yeah.
the cold. I don't know how to say it. I just try to tell people this. The cold puts you in a position of allowing yourself to believe that you can do more than what you think you're capable of. Not just the cold or breathing, like just in general life. It puts you in a position to just
Yeah.
have like a threshold of understanding of your own capacity and that you can move further in that. I don't know how to explain that. I'm sure you guys have the
Yeah.
deepest root of that.
No, there's no explanation
Right.
maybe, but yeah, going into nature just connects us way more with ourselves, and with others,
Yeah.
and the environment around us.
Right.
It's like yeah, that's constantly. Nowadays, you see it's a big surge. Meditation and
Yeah.
yoga, and I'm very happy that it happens.
Yeah.
But what I see with the Wim Hof method, it's so simple. You
Right.
just do some cold exposure, you
Yeah.
do breathing, and it directly connects
Right.
and sometimes you just forget, even when you're with your own family and friends,
Hmm.
to really connect. And I think that I learned by doing this practice, to connect better with myself and with
Right.
others around me. And I think that's I think one of the things you cannot really capture uh, in your marketing on Instagram or
Right.
Facebook.
Right.
You always people only doing cold ice baths and blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
Yeah.
But that deeper connection you don't see. But that's, I think,
The
the whole
key.
beauty of it.
Yeah.
The ice bath and the breathing are just the tools to get there, and
It's powerful,
not
man.
not to being the tough guy and to show off and to. Of course, we climbed Kilimanjaro 3 times,
Yeah. Side
but
note.
then I asked one of the porters there the third time. It's like, hey man, how many times did you do it? He said, let me see. I think yes, 30 times a year. I do it now for 10 years. 300 times. I
Just,
said, okay.
oh, how was your
Oh yeah.
cute little three you had there, Bart? Cute little three.
Who am I? Who am I?
Right.
They are the big heroes. They carry your stuff,
Well,
but it
what an
doesn't really
amazing
matter.
thing. What?
It was just to show
Yeah.
that that there's more possible than you think you can.
Right.
And you think sometimes things are impossible, but when you really go for it, a lot more is possible. And then the real magic is happening.
That's
Just
so
let it
cool.
go and it happens.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, you've obviously such a simple thing has taken you guys around the world, and you've inspired the world, and I think that that's the power of it, right? You know, that could be the part of that we have so many things, but getting back to that simple rooted connectivity of us as a human race is so powerful. And so, you know, if I kind of funnel in, I know your evening's getting late, but we always like asking people at the end,
Hmm.
sort of. We call it our Diamond Series: purpose, standards, systems, and vision. But when I look at you, Bart, and I think about what you're doing, you know, can you kind of think about that 2011, 2012 to where you're at now? And obviously the purpose and the mission has stayed the same to help people and do those sort of things. But where you're at now as an individual, when you get up in the morning, what's sort of the driving force that gets you to want to keep traveling all over the place and sharing this simplicity with the world? What's sort of the why in your own terms that you see behind it that keeps you moving forward?
Yeah, because this shit works, man.
Yeah, yeah,
No, but that's too short. But yeah. For example, I just came back from Poland for 2 weeks, and it's so amazing what it does to people, and you feel that you can really change the world, and not just to teach the people, but um, yeah, how do you say that? Yeah, the, you transform so many people's
mm,
life, and then you
powerful.
don't even realize that the people go home, and
Yeah,
bring it home
yeah,
and tell it to and they change. And when they change, the people around them also change.
yeah,
Maybe not in the beginning. Maybe they're just like, oh, what are you doing? I
yeah,
don't want you to change. But when you change and you look different and you act different and you make more connection, when you have dinner and you look each other in the eyes and
right,
just tell what you feel, and that other person changes, suddenly like, wow, 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 I want to be like you.
yeah,
And they start changing their stuff. It's
wow,
not just doing the Wim Hof method, but getting conscious about food, about their environment, about making connection with people. So you get a fantastic, like,
yeah,
spread thing. And I think that's why I still doing this job, because I see that. And after years, you still have these conversations in WhatsApp groups.
yeah,
You think, what this group is from 2015. They're still talking about this experience and sharing stuff to
yeah,
each other and
yeah.
visiting each other in Italy and around the world. And like, wow, man, this is it goes deep. They get friends for life.
For sure, for sure.
And then I think that's and all the stories you hear constantly, that someone calls you, is like, Bart, you changed my life, because
Right,
for the first time I can sleep,
right.
and I couldn't sleep for 20 years, and it just by doing one workshop, and
Did that to
people
somebody.
pick,
Yeah,
pick it up and change their life.
it's
And it's
amazing.
not, again, it's not only about Wim Hof method. It's really powerful,
Right.
but it's just a part of the whole system.
Yeah,
What
it's
you can
a it's a
change for
it's a
yourself.
piece of the puzzle. It's a piece of, I think that
Piece of the puzzle.
that's
Yeah,
what was so amazing what you just said, you
but a
know.
huge one.
Yeah.
A huge one.
Yeah, a huge one. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
life is breath to a large degree,
yeah,
right? I mean, if we don't do that, then we don't live. So it's, you know, there's a
yeah.
huge part of that. And what an awesome response, Bar. That's phenomenal. And I was thinking about my life of change while you were saying that, and how people around me at the beginning were a little worried about the change. And then now we all do ice baths and we all do breathing, and it's so cool to
Yeah.
see. And it's just,
Now you go to the dentist, and he said, "Oh, I'm taking now also cold showers." Like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah, the
In the
whole,
beginning, he didn't even know. He just said, "Oh, what's your job?" The regular question, and
yeah.
And then a few years later, he says, "Yeah, I'm now also taking cold showers." And in the beginning, like, who is Wim Hof? But
The
yeah,
process has begun. Well,
yeah.
when you take that into how does your daily life? So just very, kind of looking at your day, how does your day's training look like? As obviously you're teaching it all the time, but what does your personal practices, your personal standards look like in a day? Are you practicing breathing every day? Is it throughout the day?
No,
Kind of how's that look?
no. Yeah, I practice also when I think I need it,
Okay.
but I try to breathe as conscious as possible. And
Yeah.
sometimes I do the breathing in the morning, and I combine it with push-ups.
Okay.
And I also apply it to my workouts. And yeah, in daily life, I just go more outside, more into nature,
Yep.
play with the elements. Yeah, you saw me biking in
Right.
Amsterdam, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's just wear less clothes or not a handcuff. So it's just playing with the elements and
And
get more
feeling it.
also feeling it. And
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty. And once in a while, I can also take an ice bath.
Sure.
Um, but most of the time I'm teaching, and then they clean up the ice bath before I can jump in. But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
part of the job.
You
That's
kind of get
part of the
screwed.
job.
You kind of get screwed in that capacity of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But there are a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff what you
For sure.
can do, and
For sure.
I trying to do more. And now at this point, I trying to do more regular workouts in the morning.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
Also,
yeah.
because I feel better when I just go to work.
Yeah.
Just I just need to do something with my body first.
Yeah. Get your mind going a little bit too. And I love
Yeah,
the conscious part of the breathing. That's the huge key, right? As you build an awareness to it, and then it becomes your
yeah.
own, just like anything else. And so, no, man, unbelievable. And I know you guys have, I mean, I would have to say, I feel like you have changed and are changing the world. And I don't, you say that a lot. I feel like that's one of the few times that I've been able to say that to somebody who really is changing the world. And I think it's amazing, obviously. But when you're at that level of what you are doing, what is, I've never been able to ask someone this question. What is the vision moving forward when you're at that level of world changing things? Uh,
Yeah.
how do you keep moving forward? Is it just the feeling or the energy, or is there a vision that you guys kind of see that you want to get to? Is there an outcome goal or anything like that?
Well. When I think of Wim's mission, he just continue doing studies.
Yeah.
We did a recent study on arthritis. What is it? Spondylitis?
Uh,
Spondylitis?
Not familiar.
It's kind of an arthritis
Oh,
variation.
okay. Okay.
A huge study came out because no, it was not huge. We did our own study
Okay.
and a trial, and the results were again fantastic.
Yeah.
They saw inflammation going
It's
down,
wild.
and people felt the quality of life was better. So, and Wim is continuing that mission.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just to do more research and just to show.
Just to keep
Yeah,
it
because
moving.
people only believe science. So it is like
Right.
that.
Right.
But what we see, and that's why the community is also growing so fast. I just mentioned in the beginning. Of course, we did ads, of course,
Right.
but in the beginning, it was just going viral just by mouth to mouth
Yep.
because it was real.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
no marketing needed. People
Right.
just say, "Oh, wow, man, this is amazing. You have to buy this course," and they just spread it.
Yeah. Wow.
So I think that's important. And academy-wise, it's also growing. So more and more instructors coming.
Yep.
So that's also good. Sometimes people feel a little bit like, oh, it's too much competition. But I think we can help even more people
Right.
and dive into the system and maybe into the schooling system, working on kid programs to make them more aware of themselves
Sure.
and their environment in a playful way. I think not doing ice baths and stuff, but
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. but being creative
It's,
with it. Right.
yeah, changing from there, because
Yeah.
we cannot directly change the world. It takes time, and I think the world gets more conscious, more and more, and we can make it a beautiful place.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe not for everyone. That's yeah, that's what it is. Unfortunately,
Well,
some people just want to make war.
oh yeah. Yeah.
Do stupid stuff.
Well, I hope that we're able to pass the torch, my brother, because we believe in it, obviously, and it's had such an influence on the way that we train as the athlete community we're around back here. We've
Yeah,
implemented cold, heat, breathing. We've tried to chase any edge we can, and I think the Wim Hof, above all, has just made life enjoyable and fun. And I believe I've seen that happen, the connection of nature, and it always does it for itself. The people just kind of, you get vulnerable, you connect with the people next to you, and then you just feel this sort of energy that's so
yeah,
advancing, and it makes you want to do things with your days, which is what else would you want as a human, right? So, but
yeah.
from my end, man, and everyone that we got to hang out with you that day and the rest of the MindStrong team, thanks for giving us the time, Bart. I know you are doing all kinds of things and you are changing the world. So to step away and do a podcast with us at night, we talked before we pressed play. I think it's really hard to sort of mentally stay in tune at this time of day where you're at. So I appreciate it,
Yeah,
man. And it was a lot of, it's been fun talking to you for over the last couple of months, but most importantly, what people will be able to hear from this podcast from you. I'm happy that you were able to come on and do that for people, and whoever listens to this and what that'll do in their lives. Like I said, I hope it's just somewhat of passing the torch forward of what you've already done. But as always, man, it's you're awesome. I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming and chatting with
yeah.
me.
Thank you for your nice words, and I really appreciate it. And most welcome.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, just be the change, man.
yeah,
Just be the example, and be the light. And yeah, when people see you change, then they will change in a way.
yeah.
And I think
It's awesome.
that's why we are here. And then yeah,
It's awesome. It's awesome, man.
yep,
I will let you know when we release this. You go get some rest and be the change. I love it. Be the
good man.
change. All right, brother. Cheers. Have a good evening.
Bye bye.
All right. See you now.
You.